is there a movement within families now? Are we seeing families turn around and going, we will raise the colours? You see in Birmingham, a guy paints over his local roundabout with the St George's flag. Bearing in mind that Birmingham is a rat-infested shithole along with London, and they can't even pick up their own bins. They were out there scrubbing their hate symbol, which is the Union Jack, off the roundabout. Do you think that the British people are going to buy the idea that our own flag is a hate symbol? Welcome to another episode of the Sporadies Fox and Father, with me, the Fox, and him. It is meant to be a show where Calvin shoots me in the ways of righteousness, but it doesn't always work. And sometimes I'll shoot him in the ways of righteousness. But I've got some big news before we start the show.
Oh, yeah?
So, you know how I like to sponsor the show with a Greek beer?
Yes, Mythos.
No.
Oh.
This beer, Alpha, in the supermarket, is €2.20 as opposed to Mythos, which is €2.
And also Mythos sounds quite pagan, whereas Alpha sounds very Christian. It's like the Alpha and the Omega.
Well, this will be, I've just opened this can, so I'll just tell you. It's worth the extra 20 centimes or whatever thing. But ironically, Fix beer, which I'm sure is not called Fix beer, but that's what I read when I look at the can, that's only €1.80.
Right.
This is how seriously I'm taking the budgetary approach. I'm Rachel Reeves. I'm what Rachel Reeves wishes she was.
Did you get that from that little supermarket on the way to the beach?
Yeah, Christos' supermarket, which is now also a souvlaki place off on the side, like a Donna souvlaki, which is even better.
Oh.
And Eugene and I may nip over there tonight because Lizzie, the Mrs. Fox, she's now going home.
Okay.
So I've got the last week is with my gorgeous son, who I've renamed Happy Gilmore because he's basically teaching himself golf with olives and a piece of bamboo.
Has he got football?
He's got everything, but he's just obsessed with smacking olive pips and olives out into the bay over there.
He's easily entertained.
He's a good guy. He's a seriously good guy. So I'm very, very much looking forward to spending the last week with him. And obviously, I miss Lizzie already, but I'm so much looking forward to spending the last week with him. I don't think I've spent that. I mean, we've gone on holiday, but I think this will be the longest actual douche time that we've had together.
That's
so
nice.
very much looking forward to that. How are you doing, bro?
I am good. I had a wedding last week, which was fantastic. I've got another one next week, actually. It is the season of holy matrimony. We started some evensong services here in the church. So Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're live streaming.
Is this the live thing?
Yeah, that will come back
how's
in September.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. Not as many people tuning in on Sunday, but it's new, so we've got to build it up. And it's proper traditional Anglican evensong, you know.
You know what they say about this stuff? They say about this stuff, it's like showbiz, it's like acting. It's like you've got to get your first job, and the minute you get your first job, you get many jobs after it. So if you've got even one listener for that, that congregation can only grow.
Yeah, we do.
So,
we've got a young chap helping out with the tech as well. So we've got someone doing the live streaming stuff, which is a massive, massive help. That's good. I had a couple of days off this week. I don't think I've had.
Don't do that. You're not allowed days off. You're a priest.
Well, I haven't had a holiday, and I should be in Skiathos, but I can't for pragmatic reasons. So I just took a couple of days off. I had a break. I read. I watched the latest Star Trek. I did nothing really. Barely left the house. It was nice because, you know, I love my job. I love my vocation, but you live in a goldfish bowl, so it's quite overwhelming at times. It's nice just to have a break and have a couple of days and just some me time is important every now and then.
Eugene is livid that you're not here, so
I'm livid too. I really am. I'm missing it.
You can deal with that. I'm also living it not here, but in a different way. We went to the monastery.
Oh, how was it?
Oh, so good. Lizzie was like, "Can we go to the monastery?" And I'm like, "Nah, it's a name day in Greece. The whole thing will be Ramo." And you've been to the monastery, and it's tiny. So you can literally fit about 4. It's so funny. I don't want to break any confidences, but I'm just going to break one because he wouldn't mind. So I said, you get your candle and you plant it in the sand and you make a prayer, right? And so I explained this to young Bo, who is my stepson now. And he was like, "Okay, cool. Right, so do I light it?" And then I say a prayer and I was like, "Yeah, just go on with it." He's like, "Okay, I got it." And then afterwards, I just sort of vaguely inquired. I said, what did you pray about? And he said, "Well, it wasn't so much of a prayer as I asked God whether Mum was an alien and she came from Area 51.
Oh.
And then he said, and then there was a little pause and he went, "I haven't had an answer yet." So we're all waiting on the news, and Eugene, bless him, Eugene was talking about had some very serious questions. It was interesting that the kids didn't pray; they asked, and the adults prayed and didn't ask. I mean, we asked that I wanted peace and, all the things that one wants. Just generally, a sense of peace is always a useful thing because it's good for your thinking. But it was quite interesting to hear, I was listening to Eugene talking while planting these things. They took it really seriously, the kids. And I got a beautiful new rosary, which I'm very happy. And, hang on. And I got one of these. I buy one of these every year.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what this is. I'll give it a go. I think I must have tried it as I left the monastery and it didn't taste good. Let's give it a go.
I love that they just make this random stuff up there.
Oh, I don't even know what that is. Just tastes like honey. Don't you? It tastes like honey. I'm sure it's probably got booze in it somewhere behind the honey. Anyway, so that's where we are. And so you've had 2. It's great that what an amazing thing to be asked to be part of someone's wedding. I mean, what an honourable, wonderful, fantastic thing. How does it make you feel as a person?
How does it make me feel?
Being a priest, beyond being a priest, just like forget the fact that you're a priest and go, right, I've been asked to do this. I've been asked to officiate someone's wedding. How do you feel? You take it very seriously. I know that because I've got your sermon on my wall in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's an honor. It's a privilege. It's a blessing. It's someone's inviting you into their most intimate relationship between the 2 spouses and God. And to be an officiant in a wedding is kind of like, it's the one sacrament that we as priests one of the few that we don't perform. So the couple are actually the ones who perform the sacrament. And so you're a witness to that moment with God. It's great.
Explain that again. So it's not a sacrament.
So in most sacraments, so for example, in the Mass, in the Eucharist, the priest acts in the place of Christ. And so the priest is the one who administers and celebrates the sacrament. Whereas in Holy Matrimony, it's the husband and the wife who are performing the sacrament. The priest is just there as a witness. So it's the husband and wife who invoke the Holy Spirit and ask for God to come into their relationship. It's a special moment in that way.
I know, you did that one. You did that one, my friend. That's my wedding ring, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. That was a good one. It was a good wedding. I love that wedding.
Still Greek Wi-Fi is working. Oh dear. That stuff has made me burp a lot. I'm not sure. It could be
after my couple of days off, I went back to my truck. And I've got this old beat down. I love my truck. I really love my truck. Tell me
about it. I saw the truck online.
It's a 2011 Ford F-150 and it needs a lot of love. Right? So 2 days.
Shall we, for the benefit of the British audience and if we're patronizing you, really sorry. But in America, the way they do things is they do a 150, a 250, and is it a 450 or a 500? I never remember. I think it's But you because you get the twin wheelers, that thing,
Right.
which is the giant bad boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, the F-150 in America is classified as a small truck. In England, it's bigger than any car you could ever find ever anywhere. Anyway, but you're on the small version of that. So yeah, I've seen the Ring doorbell footage, Calvin.
Right.
And I need to know, Alvin, talk us through.
So just leaving it alone for 2 days, it doesn't start up because it needs to be run every day. Otherwise, the battery dies because the battery's old. And so I call in America, they have AAA, which is the same as our AA, right? So I've got this roadside insurance kind of thing. I call them. I say, I can't start it. Could you just give me a jump? And they say, yeah, we'll be there in 20 minutes. Great service. I'm like, oh, fantastic. And I love whenever something like this happens because it's like when you get into the back of a black cab, right? You know you're going to meet one of your people, down to earth, blue collar, salt of the earth. Like these are our people, right? And I love that. I love redneck country. So I'm like, great, I'm going to have a good chat with this guy and see what's going on in his world. And this guy turns up. And I kid you not, I don't know if this was at first I thought this must be a dare because he got out of his truck, like proper, in his dungarees, proper geezer kind of bloke with pink eyeshadow and blue, what's the one you call under the eyes?
I don't know.
I don't know what we are. Eyeliner. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, this is weird.
Eyeliner.
And then there's lipstick as well. I'm like, this is weird. And then he starts taking out my battery and he's got these long fake nails, like pink and yellow and red. And I'm like, what is going on? And so
check his hard drive. Hard drive.
So weird, just weird. And I mean, we talk about like drag queens and trans this and that, but it's all theory, right? And you expect it in a classroom where there's some lefty liberal woman trying to indoctrinate your children, but you don't expect your blue collar working class mechanic to turn up with like nails up here and lashes here and all. I was like, this is bizarre. This is beyond weird. And I just couldn't figure out because first of all, he's just an ugly guy, right? Just a normal guy. Didn't look like a woman at all. Looked like a bloke dressed up as a clown. I'm like, this is clearly just spoke like a normal bloke.
No, so it is a dare.
I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I was like, don't they get in your way? Because he's like trying to take my battery out with these great big fake long nails. He's like, no, and just change the subject. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. That's your business. But it was freaky, and it just shows like how common this mental illness seriously, unless he was dared to do this by his friends, unless this was like he was
it's got to be a joke. I smell joke, because if he looked like a bloke, smelled like a bloke, cracked like a bloke, walked like a bloke, and he just put all of that on, I bet you someone in the local community went, go on Daryl, make sure that Laurence and Calvin has some real problems with you now. It's gotta be. And he just has to keep a straight face, because you wouldn't do it because the first thing you would do. So I've got this thing, which is like, I promised my son that I won't engage with politics really while we're on holiday. So I had to replace my podcast listening thing to listen something else. So I've replaced it to this thing called Sword and Scale, which I've been subscribing to, not subscribing to, but like following for years. I've never ever listened to it, but it's like a true crime thing, and it's actually brilliant because the guy is so cynical and brutal about everything. So I've been listening to crime non-stop instead of politics, and it is quite interesting that guy's laptop to probably be downloaded into the FBI, unless it was a prank.
But even if it was a woman, right, and you do get women mechanics occasionally, even if it was a woman mechanic, you wouldn't expect her to have these great big long fake nails and makeup plastered on. It's like,
don't be sexist. You get women mechanics. Don't be sexist.
I just said you do occasionally get women mechanics, but if you did get one, you wouldn't expect one to look how he looked as a caricature of what it's weird. It's very weird.
It's a wind up. I reckon it's a wind up.
Must be.
I'd put my money on it being a wind up. And especially if he was like...
He changed the battery and the car works again, so it's all good.
The F-150 is back on. So an F-150 is typically still like a 5-litre V8, as far as I remember from hanging out in Miami and other parts of America. You still get a massive engine. Then you get to the F-250, which is like the same thing, but even bigger. And then you get like a 6.7 litre because the Americans just like, I love fossil fuels, baby. I'm burning those things until the end of the world. And I want to see the whole place covered in smog. And they don't even
I do want to get it
bother
lifted up a bit. You can get it raised, can't you? I want to get it raised a little bit.
Well, you can do that. And then you can get to the one above that. And I don't know what that one's called. It's either a 450 or something else. But they call them twin wheelies or something. And you know them because you see them on the highway and they've got two bit, and that will pull anything. I mean, you can pull a house along the road in one of them, and God knows what engine they've got in there. I love the Americans for that. I mean, God bless you. And also their little exhaust pipe, they don't even bother going like English exhaust pipes, like, oh, hello, I'm in this exhaust pipe. The Americans like, you like this piece of steel sticking out of my ass? It's gonna go real good.
I don't know how you drive is it a Raptor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you drive that on the country. When I came down to your wedding, it's like there's lanes, there's turns, and just for a normal car, it was problematic. I don't know how you manage it in that Raptor.
The good thing about the Raptor is that if you drive it around, it's quite an intimidating vehicle.
Right.
So people tend to think if we crash into each other, I'm gonna hit your wheel rather than the front of the car. But for the benefit of listeners, I'm a very, very considerate driver. Now, listen, we're 16 and a half minutes in, right?
Okay.
And all we're doing is just talking about, grief and you and your trans battery freak. So I'd like to now, at this juncture, if it's all right with you, I'd like to discuss some serious topics.
Okay. I'll have my coffee.
What?
I'll have my coffee.
Alpha. I'll have my alpha. Alpha. I think that's in Greek. Okay. So, Lucy Connolly has been released from prison.
She's free. This is great news.
She was released after a man who shook a baby so hard that the baby was paralyzed. She was released after a man who sexually assaulted a child. She served longer than these people. Is Britain, is it? No, I don't ask you that question. That never works with you. What are your feelings and thoughts on it?
I think it's great that she's finally out. I think it's a shame that she was persuaded to plead guilty. Wets like Dan Hodges have been like, well, she's clearly guilty because she pled guilty, not knowing how the whole system works and the bonds and the bail and the pressure. I think she was done dirty, but she's out and it's good. It's a celebration. Now that I hope she uses that energy to combat the system, which really was set up against her. I hope she helps to make sure that no one else gets imprisoned for bad words on social media.
Yeah, and there was a conversation. I have to be very careful about what I can say about the race baiting woman who goes on and on,
who should be ignored
to try and make herself get more money out of Twitter or whatever it is. There was a debate between her and Tom Slater, and it was very interesting to I think there's a huge shift taking place. And I know that you're always like, yeah, well, until people stand up, it's not a huge shift. But I think there is a huge shift taking place, which is we don't mind being called racist anymore. We don't mind being called far right anymore because that's the new moniker for racist. We don't mind it anymore. You can call us anything you like. We are unstoppable. And we are going to be the drivers of public policy. That's what I sent myself. Do you have any hope and optimism in that, or are you still in
the raising of the flags has been great. You'll notice my St. George's cross is no longer here, so we've put our St. George's cross up on display right now.
It's a picture of me there at the moment, so
this is my county flag. This is the Nottinghamshire county flag. That's Robin Hood right there. So obviously that's where I'm from. Put that in the place of St. George for now, who's up on display on the pole where he should be. It's great. I'm seeing the flags up and down the country.
We'll get to the flags. we'll get to the flags because I want to get to the flags, and I want to get to ethno-nationalism as well because I want to talk about that. But your sense of, just a woman was put in prison for tweeting something, which she hastily deleted. And she said, "For all I care, burn it all down for all I care." I've literally said that to my kids. It's like, well, I'm leaving you for all I care. Well, people have said it's like a very common part of the UK language about the way we use language, rhetorical device. It's like, I'm frustrated, let me be. And why has this woman spent over 300 days in prison for this? Well, I know. Because they are terrified of what's coming. Starmer is terrified of what's coming, and it's going to be on his watch as well. He is going to be the one that has to order his own police force to attack his own people. That's what they're terrified of. That's what I think. Because I £47,000 tax hike, raid on anyone who's ever saved and in their life. The perfect storm is about to envelop the United Kingdom come September. We've got the autumn budget. We've got oh man, I wouldn't be surprised if we see poll tax levels of mad and insane rioting in the United Kingdom, and change to the point of changes of government. That's what I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that, because the Whip plan didn't work the first time. Particularly, they locked up Lucy Connolly for writing some words. And I was reflecting about this in the week, and to do with that Ricky Jones, like Sly Strokes twat. And I'm like, even that, I'm like, you didn't say who spoke to Sly, she didn't say why. Even that is sort of slightly like, okay, fine, you're an idiot. But we have reached the point now where the speech threshold has been reached, I think. And I think that we are going to see dramatic and rapid shift in the UK, in the way that the UK think. I was talking to Eugene in the car, and he was like, how many people in the percentage of the world are like right-wing or left-wing? And I said, I think it's about 50-50. I said, I think it's about 50-50. And he went, no, well, it's not, because Donald Trump is like in charge of America. And I said, I don't think he's particularly right-wing. So whatever the Trumpism is, and Aaron Banks tweets about this a bit, he's like, we need a big, beautiful bill for Great Britain, but he's misleading everybody in the idea of how the British legislative system works. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think you'll go, I really feel it. Like I couldn't feel it more, that people are close to bursting. People have come up to me on the beach more than any other year that I've been here, and come up and said, thank you, good to see you, Lod, nice to know that you hang out with us, lads. Ironically, this island is becoming less plebby by the year, as you well know, because it's so expensive now.
It's plebby, but expensive. That's the problem. It's expensive plebby. It's not luxury. You pay the price of luxury.
They've dropped the price of food by about 10%.
They had to. It was crazy last year.
They dropped the price of food, but it's not nearly as busy as it was. Anyway, just to go back to the idea of what right-wing, left-wing, Tush's question was, is it? Do you think that your pessimism about the state of things and possibly realism, do you think that your pessimism and realism might be surprised? Do you think that something could happen?
I have no idea. Who knows? We'll see.
Hang on, that's a rollback. I love it. That's a rollback from last week.
Is it?
Yeah, last week you're like, nah, people aren't going to stand up. It still works. It's a mess. Okay, can we get on to flags, please, and race?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great that the flags are being put up all over the place, and replacing gay flags or Pakistani flags or whatever other flags people want to put up. Just putting the English flag up in England is a good thing, and the British flag too. Putting the Union flag up and St. George's Cross They should be on top of every public building, but also fly them outside your house if you want. It's what they do here. I love it. When I'm driving around America, I'm like, those people are proud to be American. That's wonderful. I love that. That positivity about your homeland is great. And we need more of that in England too.
I've spent a lot of time in America, and it is outside so many houses. People will have the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, it's just ordinary, isn't it?
Well, it's just America is, the more you think about America, the more you are grateful to these young men, these men in their late teens and early 20s who created a constitution for a nation that would come under challenge and be beaten down, but was unbreakable because they created that Second Amendment. And I do sometimes think if people had a start shoot a rifle and they saw one of the mega dinghies that was coming into the lifeboats, people pick them up. But whether someone with a sharp scope would knock out the engine or put the thing, and there was a terrible conversation between Ben Habib and Julia Hartley-Brewer at one point. And I do love Julia, but she has a habit of speaking out both sides of her mouth, as so many people do. Where she said, well, what do you do with them if they sink the boat? And Ben was like, leave them there. And I was like, end your explanation at that juncture. They can't swim, and they're surrounded by French lifeboat services, British lifeboat services, all of this lifeboat services. Get out. You shouldn't be out there in the first place. There must be a child drowning off Dawlish Warren or somewhere. We cannot have the British Border Patrol out there to rescue a bunch of military-age men who have probably got mosques full of AK-47s, as far as that's my worry, is that, we've seen police videos of the police saying, please, if you've got any machetes, take them back into your mosques. Like, okay. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yeah, I agree.
So when it comes to the raising the flags, raising the colours, so that's also an interesting distinction, because raising the colours is a military term. It's not a civilian term. You raise the colours in battle, and that will, So people are starting to use military language now to describe what is going on in the UK.
It feels like we're at war.
Well, do you think we are at war?
In a way, yeah. There's an invasion happening of our country, and so it's a good thing for people to get defensive about that. But we're not attacking. We're not on the offensive. We are certainly defensive.
So you've always been a great advocate for the British Empire and for the fact that the British Empire was a great thing. I think that coming alongside this raise the colours thing should be a true acknowledgement of the great goodness that the British Empire brought to the world, and that we should start, you can't do it in schools because they're just, another arm of the state trying to indoctrinate your children into believing that we're going to get, burnt to death by the sun at some point. Is there a movement within families now? Are we seeing families turn around and going, we will raise the colours? You see in Birmingham, a guy paints over his local roundabout with the St. George's flag. Bearing in mind that Birmingham is a rat-infested shithole, along with London, and they can't even pick up their own bins. They were out there scrubbing the hate symbol, which is the Union Jack, off the roundabout. Do you think that the British people are going to buy the idea that our own flag is a hate symbol?
No, it's silly, isn't it? And the parallels there are ridiculous. They'll do the rainbow LGBTQ plus zebra crossing, but the moment you put a little red cross on instead on a white background, that's hateful. Come on. How is our own flag hateful in the first place? It's not. Why, but then how are you allowing other flags, but not our flag?
Why do you think why do you think we are uniquely susceptible to this? The United Kingdom, we don't really have a strong connection with St. George. I don't. All I know about St. George is what James O'Brien tells me. It's like some Turkish dude. But, and he killed the dragon, which obviously, I'm not convinced that dragons and humans existed at the same time. Or
it's about a fight of good over evil, isn't it? Right? St. George defeated evil in his time, and he's well known for that. That's what the legend is. These days, the dragon is eating away at us, and we are not fighting the dragon. The dragon is winning at the moment, in England at least. And so, what is our connection to St. George? Well, the connection is the connection to the faith. We have a long history of being a Christian country since 927, since the country was established. And so we have many heroes. He wasn't our first patron, but he's been our longest patron. And it's something that matters. It's not even about him. It's about the idea of Christian good conquering evil. And so when people say, put up the banner of St. George, they're putting up the sign of good, the sign of Christianity. It's the Christian cross that we're putting up, really.
Do you think that one of the hallmarks, or I don't know, one of the cultural scaffolding posts, not scaffolding, foundational scaffolding, foundational aspects of Britain is the fact that, especially in modern and diverse Britain, is that we should not force anybody to accept any particular religious creed. Do you think that maybe the way of resisting Islamism in Britain is not to turn around and have a pop at Islam? It's more to turn around and say, you cannot impose Christianity on us either. The Britain that you live in was not a Christian country prior to 921, as you said, and therefore why should we say, what we can say is we have a national religion, which is we have a Church of England and all that sort of stuff, but we should not force religion full stop on anybody. Or do you think?
Yeah, I mean, who's imposing religion on anyone?
Well, Islam is being imposed on us all, right, through the crybaby tactics of the Islamists. So that's being imposed on us. We're being told, well, you're Islamophobic if you don't accept the fact that we have our own way of justice and our own way of law and our own way of doing things, and you just leave it alone. It's like that's their form of justice. And it's like, well, no, hang on a minute. In England, we don't work like that. Is the answer to turn around and say, we're a Christian country, therefore you do our stuff, or do you turn around and go be secular about it, which is what you're about to say?
No. To be a Christian nation doesn't mean you have to be Christian. That's never been the case. We've never imposed our faith. It's just that our faith is our moral compass in our country. So it's the Christian morality that is involved in our judiciary, our legislative, our monarchy, everything. So it's the Christian moral compass, and people can choose to believe in the Christian God or not. There's no one's forcing you, but we don't have other gods. We don't have false gods. That's the difference. So we won't have Allah or Buddha or whatever, which is just not part of our culture. Our culture is that we are a Christian country that believe in the one true living Christian God, Jesus Christ. And again, that's not imposed on anyone, but it's understood that the law of the land, the moral code of the land, the culture, the language, everything comes from this faith. And so you subscribe to it if you want to, or you don't have to. But you don't bring in other. You can't replace us with other. That's the problem. Whether it's our culture, our language, our faith, whatever, you can't replace us is the argument. And that's what it comes to.
It permeates through everything. Every aspect of British culture is permeated by and I'm 100% on side with you when it comes to this idea of Judeo-Christian, because you're watering down something that doesn't need watering down, like social justice. It's like things don't need a modifier. So I'm 100% with you on that one. It permeates all aspects of our lives, doesn't it? Really, from our legal system to our policing with consent. We consent to be policed, not, they're not law enforcement. All of these things are very, very, they may sound like sound bites, but they're actually really, really serious. And it's under attack
now. This is why it feels like there's a two-tier system. This is why nothing seems to make sense anymore, because we've pulled the foundation out from underneath us, and nothing really makes sense without it. Like, without that Christian moral compass, why shouldn't Lucy Colney get more time than someone who shakes a baby, for goodness sake. Like, I mean, that's an abstract, that's a ludicrous extreme. But the point is the same, that without a universal objective truth that we all subscribe to, anything is given, anything can be taken for granted. That's why we need to make sure we have a foundation that we all agree on. And that has always been Christianity. This is why I'm a Christian nationalist, because I want my country to be governed with a Christian moral compass. And that's not to say I think everyone who lives in my country should be forced to be Christian, because part of the Christian faith is God gave us free will to choose to love him or not. And that's up to us if we want to go to heaven or hell. That's up to every single individual. But the point is that we center around that truth and acknowledge it to be the truth, a universal objective truth, because without it, everything is truth. And when everything's truth, nothing is truth. We live in a world full of lies. And that's where we are. That's where we're heading. So we have to regain that more, that center ground. And this is why,
yes.
Go on.
Sorry, Karen. There you go.
No, this is why, so people are looking for camps, whether it's a civ nats or the ethno nats and this, that. And this is why I say, look, I'm a Christian nationalist. I believe in protecting my country, but I'm a Christian first and foremost. And that's important because, if I had to subscribe between civic nationalism and ethno nationalism, I'm probably more aligned with ethno nationalism than you are. You're probably more in line with civic nationalism. But this actually, neither of them are at the ideal. Christian nationalism is the ideal. And this is why we get into the extremes. So me and David Kurt and Samantha,
know whether that's going to work.
The reason we've all been attacked this week is because people on the extremes of the ethno-nat side are saying, but we must protect what's ours. We must protect, we must. And they're saying, okay, so everyone brown needs to go, and you're not English, and you're not English, and you're not. Like, they're panicking, and they're defensive, and in their ignorance, they're lashing out at people who are actually on their side. Like, my whole point is England for the English, absolutely. But English doesn't just mean white. White is part of being English, but English is the culture, the language,
it's also
the
part
faith,
of being German,
the land itself.
But
blood and soil does mean something, right? Yeah. Blood and soil means something. The soil, the land, the place is where we are. Great Britain, the island, is part of us. And also the blood, having that heritage, that lineage. And so it shouldn't be, look at him, is he white enough or not white enough? No, he doesn't cap that. That's old-fashioned racist. But if someone's parents are English, they have an English lineage, then they are part of England. Yeah, as it stands in current England, they predominantly will be white. But that isn't always the case, because we have had immigration, and we have had intermarriage, and we have had interbreeding and such and such. And so it's not as black and white as it used to be. But people want it to be black and white, and because they're so panicky and defensive, and they feel like they're being attacked, they're entering a victimhood mentality, which actually means that they are going to become isolated even more so, because they're pushing everyone else away, and they're going to become a hyper minority that is unhelpful for the fight.
You make a very strong argument. I'd like to pick at it a bit, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I often spend my time thinking about where leftism comes from. And most recently, I think leftism comes from feminism. And then I trace it back and I go, well, where does feminism come from? It comes from hatred of the most natural thing on earth, which is the family. So I was thinking today, because I'm doing a bit of writing, and I was thinking, I remember an actor telling me that he cheated on his wife, and she tried to punch him in the face. For once she found out that he'd been cheated on, it was a major national news story, and he put up his arm to fend off right hook or left hook or whatever it was, and she put so much beef into it that she broke her wrist, and she had a compound fracture of her wrist, and it was quite a Collis fracture, I think they call it, and it was a very serious fracture and can really affect your hand moving forward. And he was laughing about it, and I was like, that's leftism to me. That is someone who doesn't understand that the repercussions of your behavior by shagging someone else, which, we're all susceptible to sin, which is why we all have to ask for forgiveness for our sin, because we sin every day. But it was the fact that you found it funny that that really struck me. And I was so writing about it then, I was thinking about it today. And I was saying, it's just, leftism is more than just bad thinking. It's satanic thinking, really. It's like, I got my end away with the solid bird. It was great. But, and then I broke my wife's wrist while she tried to punch me. Aren't I a lad? And I'm just like, nah, you're vile. You're vile. So I think that I agree with you on that Christian nationalist idea. To say Christian values are, whilst this happens all across the world every day amongst Christians and non-Christians, it does. That is the ideal. What I'm where I would push back slightly against you is to say that maybe it's a trap to think that actually the not enforcement, but the sort of over encouragement of Christianity. Because I want people to be able to turn around and say that Jesus was a lunatic psychopath who sacrificed himself when he, I want people to be able to say that and not go, it's blasphemy and I'm going to hell. I want people to be able to say that.
Why? Let's break that down. Why? Because if it is blasphemy and if they will go to hell for saying it, why would you want them to say it?
Because I think that in a fallen world, the right to discuss hypotheticals is as important as the right to discuss direct truth.
Is it more important than going to heaven or hell?
Well, neither you nor I know enough about heaven or hell in the actual sense of the word to be able to discuss that with any form of knowledge. What I'm saying is, instead of defending ourselves and saying, we're Christian, you got to do the Christian thing, our values are based on Christianity, which they are, and I agree with you on all that. But instead we should turn around and go, you know what, we're not. We're not that. We're not these value systems. We're not a nation where you can come and institute your own set of laws. I'm talking on a purely secular level. I'm not talking as a Christian when I deal with something like the law, because I've dealt with the law a lot of times in my life, and the law is about as far away from anything biblical as you could possibly get.
But that's the problem.
Lucy Connolly is a prime example. What I've been going through is another prime example. Yeah, but you say it's a problem, but it's a reality as well.
Yeah, it's a reality that needs fixing, not adhering to. The fact that you're punished for saying something in retaliation to someone who said something to you and they're not punished at all shows there is a problem with the legal system, and it is not centered on what we know to be true. Therefore, it needs to be readjusted or realigned and put back on track. Not to say this is the system we have, this is where we stick with it. It doesn't work. Our system doesn't work. The fact that Lucy Connolly has just got out of prison shows that it doesn't work.
Oh, and boy, does it not work. Because there's no human rights lawyers standing up for Lucy Connolly's right to speak freely. But
it's not enough to say, "Oh, we're not that. We're not that." We have to show what we are, and what we are is important.
I agree. So, do you see the point I'm trying to make, though? Which is that if we stand to say that our faith system, the entire structures within which are the legal framework, everything, our societal framework, all of it is based around, that has to be paramount. You see how easy it is to undermine that with numbers of people that think differently.
No,
because that's where where does the multicultural idea come from? That's another thing I think about a lot. Where does this idea that we just throw all the cultures together and everything will be fine come from? I'm like, I don't understand that. I have no idea why someone thinks that's a good idea. I'm like, you have your culture, I got my culture, we are one human race, so I don't give a shit how much melanin you have in your skin or anything like that. Your criticism of the United Kingdom, the certain person that we're not, I don't want to say its names, goes on about embassy for stuff about the amount of melanin one has. If you look at Islam, for example, you can see ginger bearded Chechen Muslims, for example. I'm just saying. Part of the same problem.
So the people that go on are obsessed with the melanin. They are part of the same issue. They're looking at the world through a non-Christian lens. So it's like, I see elements of my culture and my country that I like, and I want to protect my culture and my country. Therefore, I'm going to say we need to be 100% white, we need to 100% speak English, etc., etc., listing off the superficial elements without the supernatural element, without the true element. And I've had this conversation with Mr. Laws in the past. He said, yeah, I agree with you on so much stuff, but you're missing the fundamental in that we are primarily a Christian country. Everything else comes secondary to that. If you put being white above being Christian, you're already losing the battle. And this is why you're losing the argument. And it's not just your methodology. It's not just your tone. It's not just your aggression. It's the way, it's the actual fundamental basis of your argument in that we are a Christian country, always have been since our inception. And yes, predominantly English speaking, predominantly white. And yes, these are good things. These are not bad things. These are things that should be protected, but not things that should be idolized or prioritized above the faith. And the faith comes first. If it doesn't, everything else falls apart. That's the thing that these people don't understand.
No, I think you're dragging me around. But I
agree again. So I'm agreeing with you on that element, but I'd agree with him on the other element, and that I would not want to see an England that is 100% African, even if they were all Christian, because that would not be England anymore. And so there are nuances to these debates, and people often don't want to see the nuance because they want to see the black and white pyramid that they're living in.
Okay. But therefore, the multiculturalists are correct, which is that everyone should breed with everybody. As you know, my missus is not white-skinned. Everyone should breed with everyone. We should all just be like sort of a version of you, or a bit lighter or a bit darker. And we should all just be like that.
I disagree. I don't want to see a I don't want to say that I'm mixed race, which means I have multiple ethnicities, right? So English and Afro-Caribbean, which it just is. It's not a good or a bad thing. It just is. But I don't think the whole of England should be mixed race. I think England should be English predominantly. That's not to say you can't have a minority that isn't. And we exist now. There's no getting out of that fact. We exist. But that's not to say everyone should be like us. England should be predominantly English. And that means predominantly white and English speaking.
Okay. So if England should be predominantly white and English speaking, what should you do with the people who are coming into England, have lived here for a long time, whose first language isn't English, who aren't white, but who have been paying taxes in this country since the time that they arrived?
Taxes has nothing to do with it. This is why the blood and soil argument has weight. Because there are different priorities of citizenship, right? So if someone has lineage, as in you can trace their history back, and they've got generations of English history heritage, then they are more English than certainly someone who's just moved here and may have contributed. In fact, someone who's moved to England, whether they've contributed into the tax system or not, they're not English because they've moved to England. So they come from somewhere. Therefore, they have an ethnicity and a culture and a country already. And we can argue for or against immigration. That's another argument entirely.
Do you think that's why America works? Because America is like, come in and make something of your life. And, if you subscribe to our values and you follow the values of the Constitution, you can become an American. English people can become Americans.
Right.
Do you think it's
slightly more so?
Do you think
we have a bit of that? So you can become British. You can become a British citizen or a British subject. You can gain the nationality, but you'll never gain the ethnicity of the Britons, of the Anglos, of the English. You'll never become English.
But I don't know if I'm English.
Rishi Sunak.
I have no idea if I'm English.
Both, right? So you're ethnically English and you're nationally British, right? So I'm ethnically half English, half Afro-Caribbean, and nationally British, right?
I don't know.
But in America, they say. Well, okay, but in America,
I could be German or Irish.
Right, they say you can become an American.
I know I'm Irish. I know I'm.
But the ethnicity of the American people is still Anglo. They come from the same roots as the English, those European roots. And so predominantly they are white because they are Anglo people, and so they do have an ethnicity, even if they're not. Even if most Americans aren't as bothered about it as most Englishmen are, there are still people out here that say, no, this is a predominantly Anglo country.
I'm going to read you Emily Maitlis's tweet because just sort of crossed. Because I'm interested in how they think. I'm interested in how they think. Emily, oh God, how do you spell her name, mate?
We give too much credence to these people. All they do is so toxicity.
So Matt Goodwin tweets,
Oh,
if you really? Are you going to give me a minute or are you going to yawn?
I'm waiting. I'm just having my coffee.
If you look at the top 20 nationalities given visas to work in the UK last year, only 1 is from Europe and only 3 belong to the Anglosphere. What exactly are we creating or building here? And then he gives a long list of countries where, it doesn't, that aren't parts of what we would loosely call the West or the Christian West or the whatever the word we mean to have for it. Emily Mentis responds, Anglosphere. Don't kid yourself that when they're finished with asylum seekers, everything will be fine. They just move on to the next minority. And yes, the Brexit hypocrisy here is, of course, hilarious. But soon the target will be people who've lived, worked, paid taxes, nursed our children for years, and will be asking what we should do to appease the hard right. No one's really engaged
in the. Oh, sorry.
No, Durham.
I don't think there's any appeasing of the hard right, because I think the hard right is very small and the hard right isn't very articulate and no one really cares about the real hard right. But I do think she's right in that, there is an issue there. Like, we do have to have a conversation about how much immigration we want into Britain and whether we want the numbers to stay as they are or what we're going to do about them. I've been in favor of mass deportation and repatriation for a long time. I think that 5% of the demographic of the country that is Pakistani needs to go back to Pakistan because they account for 64% of the child sexual abuse and child sexual exploitation. So yes, I think she's actually onto something, and that does need to happen, does need to be addressed.
And there's actually an alignment, really weirdly, there's an alignment between the so-called hard left and the so-called hard right. I mean, they've stopped calling me a racist now. I haven't been called a racist in ages. I just get called a far-right extremist now, which is like, okay, whatever. But I'm, genuinely interested in that topic. And then I know, because I'm sensitive to this and I've read scripts all my life, so I know what happened. The story always changes in Act 3, right? And in Act 3, Act 1 is where they present the problem. Act 2 is where they discuss the problem. And Act 3 is where the problem is solved. We've done Act 1 and Act 2. We're now entering Act 3. Act 3 is where woke is murdered. It's been murdered in America by Trump, thank God. And it's going to be murdered in the UK soon too. There's not going to be talk about ethnicity. But I worry about the Steve Lawses of this world, because I go, there is a, and Tommy is accused of this a lot. I mean, and it's not right that he's accused of this because it's absolutely a mischaracterization of who he is. But it's, people get accused of going, well, you just want white people. You don't want anybody else. And I'm like, actually,
right. which is absolutely untrue. Tommy is a multiculturalist, whereas Mr. Laws, I would say,
well, I don't think he is a multiculturalist. I would say he's a multi-ethnic.
Right, sure, multi-ethnic, but the other people, the actual hard right, are a reaction to the hard left that have been in power for so long. It's bound to happen. I don't think the truth is in either of them. I don't think the truth is in the hard left or the hard right.
No, I agree with you. I think you can go back to the fact that this is a Christian nation and you should be a Christian nationalist. And I think actually those are two very secure terms. I'm very nervous of things, of modifiers put in front of anything. But to say you're a Christian nationalist, that kind of makes sense to me. Right, we have to move on to some questions, my friend.
I had a question for you because I woke up inspired this morning with this question of that I wanted to raise of what advice would you give to young people? I know it's a cliche question, but I just feel like it's important because young people are lost and the world seems dark, but lots of them still want to enter the world that you entered, and what is a way they can do so without falling foul of all the traps?
Well, it's really simple, which is like, your job as a creator and as an artist has nothing to do with what your political beliefs are. Like, it doesn't matter whether you voted Trump or what, unburdened by what has been, whatever she's called, Paris, that it shouldn't matter. Are you good at your job? And we are returning to that rapidly in the West, rapidly returning to that, to a place where you are not allowed to just go, I'm brown, it's sad, I can't get a job. But you got more jobs than everybody else, calm the hell down. My advice to people would be to be the best artist they can be. In the same way as I would say to someone who wants to raise a family, why are people not having families? Because they're being told that families are bad in some way. And, the way that they think about families. So if you tell someone that the worst thing in the whole of the world is that a family is a bad thing, then they're going to not want to have families. And we need to fill our children's hearts with the idea and the hope that they can be who they want to be. They'll fail, they'll succeed. But you don't need to make, I hate Brian Cox now. No, I don't hate him. But I'm so bored of Brian Cox. If he comes on the TV, I switch it over. If Robert De Niro comes on TV, an actor I've admired since, he inspired me to act. Listen to him talking crap about politics. I'm like, oh, go away. In the same way as people will think that about me. Right? But the predominant orthodoxy has been coming from leftism. And I felt I need to stand up against it and say, excuse me, little brown girl, you're on 25 grand a week. Stop blaming Whitey for the fact that you're on 25 grand a week. And I got sick of it because I was sick and tired of knowing white people who had no money not complaining about being white and it being a brown person's fault. So that's what I did. I have to live with the consequences of that. That's fine. I would say to young people, the thing is to not take your politics into your professional life, particularly. Put it into your work. As an actor, you look at Clint Eastwood's acting, look at Denzel Washington's acting. Denzel Washington always played a man with a huge weight on his shoulders who can either make a good decision or a bad one. And he fights through, he's usually popping pills, bars of thing, drinking a bottle of whiskey, and he gets to the end of the road. And the message he is trying to pass on to his audience is if you like Denzel Washington, then like the values that I'm espousing in my performance. That's what I would say he was doing. And I would say that it's for you within your art forms to do that rather than on Twitter, which is, obviously ironic because that's what I do. But it shouldn't matter. I sit with people I disagree with all the time. All the time. And I have great conversations with people I disagree with. And I love them for disagreeing with me. And I think you're wrong about that to me. But I'm sick of living in this world where you're defined by your politics. Like, really? You're defined by the way you look at things? It's like, no, show that in your workplace. The Martin Luther King thing about, if you're a street sweeper, then make sure that you do the best street sweeping that you can do. Like that, he was right about that. And suddenly we dispense with this idea that you can take pride in what you do. And, I suppose my role fits more into activism nowadays, which is boring as hell. But I ultimately, I would say that you shouldn't take your politics to work with you. When we were actors, you were expected to perform if someone had died, your closest sibling, anyone had died, you were expected to go out on stage every night. And the phrase was, you leave your problems at the stage door and the show must go on. And that was. What do you reckon?
I think that's sound advice. And my advice for anyone who's saying, I want to get into politics would be don't yet. I don't think anyone under the age of 25 should be in politics. I've seen too many people abused by the system, whether that's lecherous MPs or just being exploited by the mainstream media for rage bait and clickbait. I would say mature in your politics first and then become politically engaged in that way. I think we've got far too many young political commentators that are burning themselves out and pigeonholing themselves, and it's not good for their mental health and well-being. In terms of the faith, I'd say get involved. So young people, get involved in the faith, learn about your faith, learn about the Christian faith, so that when you get married, you can raise a good Christian family, and that's how we're going to change the world. I keep saying it: get married, have children, teach them the faith is how we change the world. But also, my number one advice that I woke up this morning and wanted to share is just spend time with your family. So when I was in college, so not what as they call college out here, not university, but college, like sixth form, I made sure that every single Tuesday I went and spent the day with my grandparents. And I loved it. And sometimes it was more fun than others. Sometimes it was, a bit boring. But there's that generational gap. But I loved it because I loved them. And even back then, I realized, like 15 years old, thinking, I'm not always going to get this opportunity. And I don't know what my future holds, but I won't always be able to just nip round and see my mom and granddad. And I can't anymore because they're no longer here. I still love them to bits, but I'm so thankful for that time that I spent with them, purposeful, intentional time that I can never get back. And I think, so my number one piece of advice is just spend time with your family. Right now I'm in America, and my niece, of course I miss my mom, my dad, and my sister. Of course I do. But my nieces are growing up so quick, and I'm missing it all in the blink of an eye. Like, family is so important to us. It's the foundation of our society, of who we are as human beings. So my number one advice is that, to spend time with your family.
Oh, men to that. That's a really good like wrap up and thing. All right, we're going to go to some questions. I was just reading all the questions, and we answered loads of them while talking. So let's just try. Right, would Lucy Conley still be if we hadn't raised our voices? I think we discussed that. Is this a one-off? What does real justice look like in God's eyes? Okay, what does real justice look like in God's eyes?
God is justice. And there is no justice this side of heaven.
Mercy and law, thank you for that question.
Yes, thank you. We'll face true justice on Judgment Day. We will be judged for all of our thoughts, actions, words, deeds, prayers, etc. What does true justice look like? God is justice. So what does that mean? That means that there is an ordered way. There's a good way, and there's a not good way. And that not good way, we call it evil, we call it sinful, whatever. But the point is, true justice is in God's good order, God's design. He set out a plan for us, for the world, for creation, and to fall within that plan, to try and align with that plan, to try and be filled with the will of God. That's true justice.
Okay, that's good. Can Christians wave the flag without falling into idolatry? Well, it's all about you this week.
Yeah, of course we can. We should wave the flag. Like, look at any old Christian art. You'll see them waving the St. George's cross. Actually, it's one of the oldest flags in the world, and we even see Christ holding the banner of it sometimes in that old art. Yes, we should wave the flag. God, family, country, these are things that are important to us as Christians. And yeah, we can fall into idolatry with anything, but we should avoid that. We don't worship our flag. We don't put it above family and above God, but it is important to us. It's a symbol of our nation. In England, we've always had the symbol of the monarchy as well, as a living embodiment of our nation, but it no longer fulfills the purpose, unfortunately. So we're resorting to the flag, which is what they've used in America for the last 250 years. It's worked well for them.
There's some really good questions, and it's really annoying me because we've talked about why does hypocrisy get rewarded in the media. We know that. Should Christians ridicule woke nonsense or rise above it? How do we fight lies? Okay, this is good. Grace over grudge. How do we fight lies without becoming bitter?
That's something I ask myself every blooming day. Every time I open X.
That's why. Right. How do we fight lies without becoming bitter?
We have to constantly remind ourselves that we are a faith of faith, hope, and charity, or faith, hope, and love, right? And we're a faith of joy. And we have to try and find the joy in God's creation because he intended it to be good. And the enemy is an enemy of division, of destruction, and of deceit. And so we have to combat those things. We have to expose them and highlight good as an alternative, but we have to keep our eye on the light, even if we're exposing the darkness. And that's a constant battle for all of us that are engaged in this. But there's no perfect solution other than resort to prayer. Always return to Jesus. Make sure you have a good prayer life, good habitual prayer life, and always return to the Blessed Sacrament.
Yep. Okay, well, we're going to go into Fox and followers now. I really encourage people to follow Steve Laws, who is at Steve_Laws, who is, in my view, the very worst of what Britain is throwing out as a young man, and I'm very happy to speak to him about that. And I've always said
very
Burns.
Nice, Laurence.
What?
I honestly think he's well intentioned, but he's just misguided. Like he needs to. Do you know what I think's happened to Steve Laws? And this is just conjecture, and obviously I have no evidence to support it. I reckon he tried it on with it. He's had his heart broken by a brown girl. And your other followers is Burnside, did you say?
Oh, I love Burnside. And Dan Wootton, who is going from strength to strength and doing so good and doing all the stuff that and Tom Skinner, who now on Strictly. I used to get offered Strictly.
Say something next week.
I used to get offered Strictly every year when I was part of the club. They used to offer it to me every year, and I was like, it's a complete non-starter for me. I'm never going to do it.
I detest reality television. I really do. I think it's beneath us.
Sadiq Khan is also not a follow, right? Yours?
My Fox and Father follows is Joel Webben, which is at Right Response M.
What's his name? I'm going to follow him. Who is he?
Joel Webben. So he is a Reformed Protestant, so not the same theology as me, but he is a very good man fighting the good fight for the faith and comes up against it on both sides.
What's his thing? Because I need to get him.
At Right, so the word Right, Response, and then the letter M.
At Right Response.
M.
Joel Webben. There you go. Oh, he follows me. I'm following him back now. Okay, great.
Yeah, so
awesome.
He's great on the issue of
mosquitoes now, by the way.
Oh no, I hate those things.
Just let me know.
The Skiakos mozzies are fine. You get little red bumps. The mozzies out here in Michigan, my whole hand swells up. But Joel is fighting against his own side. The reform. He had a great conversation. Well, I've been on his show before, but he also recently had Dr. Taylor Marshall on. People are like, how can you get a Catholic on? It's like these people would see Jews as somehow their older brothers in the faith, but don't recognize Catholics as Christians. It is insane, poor theology, but he's fighting against it from the other side, which I think is very, very important. That James White guy constantly. James White is gone crazy with Burma Madness. Bless him.
Oh, I need to have a look.
Yeah, he's up.
Steve Laws has responded to me when I said, "Who are our people?" Because Steve keeps talking about them. And he went, "I'm not playing your retarded rhetorical games. You know exactly who our people are." I don't. You're trying to play both sides. You complain about demographics, and then you shill for immigrants. You can't have it both ways.
I haven't seen you shill for
and then he keeps calling me an incoherent spastic. I'm like, mate, if you
that's where he loses me, Steve.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Honestly,
anyway.
If you've got a good point, I send my love and prayers to Steve Laws, and I send my love and my prayers to my family member.
Christ first.
I send our love and prayers to my family member who was very badly injured this week and spent 2 days in a high dependency unit in a hospital.
Oh no!
And is now recovering. So that's where my prayers and thoughts are. And I'm now going to take Eugene. Eugene said to me today, he went, I need some more vegetables. And I was like, okay, we'll get some at lunch. So we got some spinach, and he manfully tried to eat his way through spinach. And that shows a guy who's made of stern stuff, the Popeye levels of stuff. So I'm going to take him off tonight to go and find somewhere where it's not souvlaki and chips. But this is I've just been bitten on that knuckle. So can you pray us out, my love?
I can. Today is the feast of Queen of Heaven. And the Pope has actually called for today to be a day of fasting and prayer, imploring the Lord to grant us peace and justice and to wipe away the tears of those who suffer because of ongoing armed conflicts. He said, "May Mary, Queen of Peace, intercede so that peoples may find the path of peace. And I think that's a very worthy and just cause. So I'll be fasting today and praying, and I hope other people will join. Even if you're watching this, of course, it's not the same day as we're recording, but whenever you're watching this, have a day of prayer and fasting for peace and justice. Grant to us, we beseech thee, O Lord, that we who celebrate the festival of the Blessed Virgin Mary, our Queen, being defended by her succor, may obtain peace in this world and glory in that which is to come. Through Jesus Christ, thy Son, our Lord, who liveth and reigneth with thee in the unity of the Holy Spirit, ever one God, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. And for those who are of the more Protestant inclination, who are saying she's not a queen, I will just give a very brief summary in that in the Davidic tradition, much like many ancient monarchies, the mother of the king is referred to as the queen. In England, we have that too. We call the late Queen Elizabeth II's mother Queen Mother. It is an ancient tradition. So Mary, as mother of Christ, as mother of God, is referred to as Heavenly Queen. There you go.
There you are.
I hope that helps.
And your theology lesson at the same time. All right. Well, by what day is it today?
It's Friday. And this goes out on Sunday.
So I will still be here next time we speak. So the next Fox and Father will be from here too. I send my love to you. It's been a really good chat again. I really like getting into the weeds with some of this stuff. And I think people often don't. You know, it's good and healthy to disagree on things you agree on. You know, and to do that. And I'm grateful for your friendship and your, I think about things you say to me long after these episodes. And I kind of like, in a funny way, I feel sad that, you know, we're not like in each other's lives 24 hours a day. Well, we're not like that, but like we're not at each other's disposal as much as we were. But I love the fact that we have a conversation with each other that we would have around the kitchen table. And I think that's what's so good. And I'm not going to spend the extra 20 centimes on Alpha. I think it's all right. But you know,
I miss the mythos. Have a mythos for me.
Well, I will. I'm going to take him down to Croupy, but the mozzies there are the worst. So
pour out to Retsina for the for the poor souls in purgatory, because that's what this was.
This is another problem with Greece. You don't get Retsina in restaurants anymore. It's hard. You have to find a restaurant that serves Retsina, and I love Retsina.
Supply and demand, right?
And they've watered it down.
Nobody wants to drink pine juice.
Well, they're idiots. So, you know.
Have a good rest of your trip. See you in a few days.
Don't follow anyone that doesn't drink Retsina. Love you.
You too, brother. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.